to this. Right. All right. Good afternoon. Is it afternoon? No, it is morning. I don't even know what time it is. That's how it goes on the weekend. Good morning, friends and family and world. Kelly and Charlene here with Soul Rise Collective to bring our second podcast to you. And as always, we want to remind you of what our mission and our purpose is. So I'll get into that. Soul Rise Collective is a movement, a safe haven, and a sisterhood rooted in awakening, healing, and empowerment, especially for women who feel lost, unseen, or unsure how to rise again. We hold space for the messy middle, the raw truths, and the moments when you don't feel strong yet. Here, healing meets purpose. This is so important. Here, your story becomes a guidepost for someone else's journey. Here, you remember that you were never meant to just survive, you were born to soul thrive. We rise from pain into purpose. We learn, grow, and heal together, knowing that our voices carry light, our scars carry wisdom, and our hearts carry the map home. So that's what we're here to do today. We're going to talk about Kelly's story and a little bit about her life story and how she come to transition and be a transgender woman. And so we're going to get into that. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning,
Great to
Charlene.
be back with you today.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yay, yay. So we're going to talk about you today. So I'm going to start off by just saying, give us a couple of basics about who you are, some surface level stuff, who you are.
Well, let me start by the significance of this podcast because just 2 months ago, even the person I was then wouldn't have been able to do what I'm sitting here doing today, which is sharing my story because I had I had to heal old wounds. I had to work on myself still. I had to break old chains and to understand that it's really important what I'm doing here because today's takeaway for me, what I really hope that everybody gets is just that you know um, you're going to get to know me. You're going to get to understand what transitioning is, what it means to be transgender. Um, you know, changing hearts and minds, getting to see uh, the trials and tribulations and the challenges that I had to face, through my life that brought me to where I am today. Because the truth of the matter is so many people like to try to say, maybe I'm pretending, that this isn't real, that I'm not really truly who I say I am, and I think my story is going to speak for itself and prove that this is really me. This is my authentic self. Excuse me, because my sinuses want to keep interrupting me here. Um, but yeah, no, just the fact that nobody would go through the things that I've gone through to be who they really are if this wasn't who they truly were. And so I hope to inspire people and change hearts and minds today and see things in a new light from new perspectives. So that's really
That's
what's
always the goal, right? Different perspectives.
yes, exactly.
Right. Well, let's dive right in by walking us through your story from childhood to now, and moments growing up where you felt you had to hide who you were, or were there signs, throughout your childhood up to your time of transition?
Well, yeah, that's a perfect way to start, Charlene. What I want to start with actually kind of is a fast forward for a moment because the interesting part is when I first started transitioning, I joined this like transgender haven group, and there was chat rooms, and I kept seeing these trans women keep talking about how they just knew when they were young. They just knew when they were really young. They saw the signs. They knew who they were then, and to me, I was like, gosh, I just, there's just nothing there that that I can recall that was signs for me. And so I'm like going thinking to myself, that kind of led me into going, gosh, is this really who I am? Um then when I started therapy with my therapist, oh my gosh, when I started dating, there were signs everywhere. And it was just, I guess I just repressed it so much that I didn't realize, that there were definitely signs. So let me start there then, my childhood, right? So, um, you know, obviously I was born male, and then I lived in Dayton, Ohio, growing up, all the way till I was about 8 years old. I really, there wasn't anything that really sticks out to me, sign wise then. But when I moved down to Florida, uh, that's where things really started to kind of kick in with some odd, strange things that would come across in my mind. And things like, for example, so I would live in an apartment complex there in Sarasota, Florida.
Well, let me
And
just throw in here. Um, so while Kelly and I are cousins,
yes,
we don't really know each other's lives. For me, it's very sprinkled in early on and then not at all. So having said that, I had no idea that you were part of the family group that moved to Florida. I
yes,
had no idea. I did not know that at all. So anyway, this
yeah.
is one of
So
the reasons I was excited about doing this too, right? Because we don't
right,
know about
exactly,
each
because you're
other.
learning just like everybody else says. And so yeah, so 8 years old, right? I'm in Sarasota, Florida. Well, like I said, we eventually ended up in an apartment complex. So there was a bunch of kids my age there. And lo and behold, so one of the first things that I can recall was that so there was these two girls that were sisters. And one of the sisters was the older sister by about 2, 3 years. And then the younger sister was a tomboy. And the younger sister was closer to my age. Well, so her older sister was very femme, makeup, all that girly stuff, right? And I can remember all of us kids being in their apartment one evening, and again, her older sister, always teasing her about being a tomboy, and kind of like teasing her about going, "Oh, we're gonna hold you down and put makeup all over you." And in my mind, the background of my mind, I can recall going, "Gosh, I want them to do that to me." Right?
Sure, sure.
Now,
Yeah,
why would
okay.
somebody like me think that way, right? And so that was like one of the first things that pops up in my mind. And then so from there, right, next couple things was as I started moving closer to my teenage years, I had things like so my sister is bigger than I am. She was taller than I was, bigger body built than I was. I'm thin, small. Well, just so happens so is my mom, built just like me. So whose clothes do I get into? My mother's. So when nobody's around, which, this happened more along the lines of when I was in middle school. And um along with that too, I can remember my sister like doing things like getting her ears pierced for the first time, getting her hair feathered, and something inside me wanted to do those same things, right? Like I wanted to have a necklace, but I was like, gosh, but I'm not a girl, so like I gotta get guy kind of like necklaces, right? Like an eagle claw with a ball, but at least I felt better when I had like jewelry on, and I didn't have the ability to speak up for myself and say, I want to get my ears pierced, right? This is now you got to keep in mind this was like what mid '80s, so and we didn't have the internet then, right?
Right.
But again, like I said, I get in my mom's clothes from time to time. I couldn't explain why I was doing that, right? Same thing. So my sister, by this time, a couple years older than me, she was in doing makeup, curling her hair and stuff. And now, of course, I had shoulder length hair when I was like between like the ages of like 11 and 13 before I got into kind of high school. And so, um, again, just so happens when there was moments when nobody was around, mom and them were at work, and Angela was off at work or school, and I was at home all by myself. What did I do? I went and got in Angela's makeup and did some makeup and would curl my hair, right?
Right.
No explanation. I didn't understand it. I didn't question it. I just know it felt good to me, right?
Sure.
And so it's just wild, like going, um, there were signs, I did those things, and it felt good. But at the same time, it was almost like there was a little bit of shame, guilt. I mean, just like even I would watch cartoons that would be more girly, like Care Bears or Rainbow Bright and stuff, and I felt awkward watching it, but I wanted to. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but again, couldn't question it. I didn't know. I didn't really question it, like I said, because I don't know, just I didn't know what I didn't know, at the time. Again, there was no internet. There was nothing says, hey, there's transgender people out there and all that stuff, right?
Right.
So, but um kind of forwarding a little bit into, I kind of hit, the puberty point probably around, 15, 16 years old, and it kind of went away. Like I didn't so like I had a time frame between like when I was, like I said, like 16 up till I was about 20 years old, 21 years old, that I didn't have that urge, right?
Mhm.
Just kind of disappeared. I kind of attribute that to, of course, when you hit puberty, my hormones that are in my body, the testosterone really kicked in probably, and kind of blocked a lot of that, right? And then of course I got into the ROTC, and I got into the military stuff, and of course I joined the military when I was 17. Actually, 3 days after I turned 17, I was raising my right hand, swearing into the military.
Right.
And I also went to basic training between my junior and senior years of high school. So I finished my junior year of high school. Over my summer, I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and completed my basic training. I
Oh,
returned back home. I finished my senior year of high school, graduate high school, right back into the military I went,
right.
right? So in that time frame, like I said, nothing odd from that point kind of happened. I didn't have no urges. I didn't do anything like that. But then uh, I started getting them again. I get my first duty assignment to Korea. And this was in 1996.
Okay.
Okay. So I get my first duty assignment in Korea, and I start having these feelings again,
How old
right?
were you in 1996 in Korea?
Oh, let's see. I actually, in 96, I ended up turning 21
Gotcha. Okay.
there while I was there. And at the
Okay.
same time, so even before I went to Korea, so I ended up getting engaged to my first wife.
Okay.
And so we didn't end up getting married till I got back because going to Korea is an unaccompanied tour. So I went to Korea. I come back from Korea. I get married. And then I got her pregnant. And so now, right, I have a wife who has women's clothes and makeup all around me
All
again,
right. Right.
right?
Right.
And those urges kick in again, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm a little bit older, of course, right?
Yeah.
And so um, when nobody was around, I started dabbling in it again, right?
Sure.
Um, and I thought to myself then, I was like, what in the world? Is this like a fetish or something? What am I doing? Well,
Yeah. Sure.
um,
Questioning. Yeah.
yeah, but again, I had nothing to compare it to, right? I had nothing,
Sure.
didn't know. But what I know I did feel was like I felt shame, guilt,
Yeah.
like why am I doing this? That's I wasn't born that way, right?
Right.
You know?
Sure.
Um and so then so my daughter was born in August of 97,
Hmm.
98, 98. I'm sorry, 98, August
Yeah.
98. So we're up in Fort Drum, New York, upstate New York. That's where I was
Sure.
stationed, right? And so so my daughter comes along, and next thing I know, I'm getting orders to go back to Korea again. I don't know, company to tour. So um I go to Korea, but before I go to Korea, I knew what my return assignment was, which was going to be down in Alabama. So I didn't want to leave the wife and new daughter there up in upstate New York where there's no family friends, and being up north where the winters are harsh, and
Sure.
so
Sure.
I
Yeah.
got the opportunity to move them down south, down to Alabama, Fort Rucker there in Alabama, and so and then of course so I got them moved, went to Korea, and then I came home mid tour from Korea for Christmas time,
Yeah.
and she ends up getting pregnant again. Well, come to find out, it wasn't mine.
Oh.
She ended up sleeping with another soldier there
Mm.
for Rucker while I was gone, and then tried to play it off like it was mine.
Oh.
Um, yeah. So I mean, she played all the way up to the point that when I got back from Korea for good, I was stationed there for Rucker. We
Yeah.
only had one vehicle, so she would pick me up from the drop-off pickup location when I would, be going to work or coming home from work, right? So one
Right.
day I knew she was getting close to delivering, and I'd ride the van back from the tower that I was working at, and nobody's there to pick me up.
Oh.
And so I get I get somebody finally just to give me a ride back home, and I see that our vehicle's in the driveway, but there's nobody there. My daughter's not there, wife's not there, and I'm like, okay, this is really suspicious, fishy. I started
Sure.
calling hospitals and finding out she's at one of them delivering a baby.
Oh.
As soon as I get there to the hospital, the guy that she slept with, that got her pregnant, that was a soldier, was there. His family was there. My daughter was there.
Oh.
And the wife had blocked me from even getting access to her or anything like that,
Oh,
right?
wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
So sorry. Yeah.
imagine that, right?
Yeah. Especially thinking all this time up to this point that this is your baby and, whole people are just not
Yeah,
nice. Go
and
ahead.
the crazy thing is too is she played along still even after I seen the baby. I let her come back home.
Yeah.
She had the baby. Baby looked nothing like me. Looked so much like that other guy. You couldn't deny it. You could not
Yeah.
deny it, right? And so yeah, in my kind heart, I still let her be there. But it didn't take long for things to really unravel.
Sure.
Mm. Ended up filing for divorce. I got custody of my daughter Destiny.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't
and
know that either.
yeah, and so her
Yeah.
mama kind of left the picture because she ended up marrying that soldier that got her pregnant, and then he got an assignment to go to Alaska, and so she followed with him. So I was still there at Fort Rucker,
Yeah.
and so here I am, got a girl, you know, and I still got to go to work,
Yeah.
you know, Destiny at the time was like 3 years old, so
Yep. All
I
the
got
things. Yeah.
3 years
All the
old. I got to
parenting
learn.
things. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I'm all by myself doing this, right? Um, and so basically, I did that for a year and a half, I think, before I met Jay.
Okay.
And I met her actually on chat in a chat room, AOL chat room, right? Um, and
AOL
so
chat rooms. Holy
yes,
moly.
AOL chat
Yeah.
room because she was
Right.
from Mississippi, right? She was from Mississippi, and I'm in Alabama,
Yeah.
and so yeah, so that's how I ended up finding her. She was in a military chat room,
Yeah.
and we got to talking, and one thing led to the next. And things moved along very quickly. So
Yeah.
she kind of had the same situation in a sense where, she had come out of a marriage where she had a kid with her previous husband, and he cheated on her and got this other lady pregnant as well, and
Oh my.
it was a messy marriage. And so we're trying to bring this all together, and we got two young kids close to the same age, and so yeah, we just kind of thing next thing led to the next, and ended up getting married in 2003. um and yeah, let's see. So lo and behold, once again, right, same things start happening. Like, um you know I'm married again. Like, I've got access to women's clothes, I've got access to makeup again, although it really wasn't. I was so busy with work at this time, right, between those times, because basically it was shortly after we got married. I ended up going to Fort Jackson to be a drill sergeant.
Oh,
So I was
okay.
actually a drill sergeant, a
Yeah.
basic training drill sergeant from
Wowzers.
2005 to 2007. Yes,
Oh.
it's hard to believe, because that just does not fit my personality at all.
Yeah. It's not something I could do. I would.
Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah.
Long hours, nonstop, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, I didn't have a whole lot of time. Um, so let's see. Let me go with um. So after I completed my time at Fort Jackson as a drill sergeant, and then we moved back. We ended up moving back to Fort Rucker in Alabama,
Hmm.
and so Jay ends up getting a gastric bypass because she ended up putting a lot of weight on because she basically was running the household. for the most part when we were in South Carolina because I was always working, right?
Right.
And um, so like I said, she put on a lot of weight. So she ended up getting a gastric bypass when we first got back to Fort Rock, Alabama. And then she did a transfer addiction. She went from overeating to drinking. She became an
Oh,
alcoholic.
yeah.
And it wasn't too long after that that I ended up getting orders to go to Fort Lewis in Washington State,
Hmm.
where I was set to deploy to Iraq.
Oh,
So I left the family in Fort Rucker, Alabama, and I went to Washington. Now, before I actually moved to Washington, though, the first time I seen a transgender person that I know of, that I was aware of, was in a movie. I
okay.
seen it on TV back in 2007, the
Hmm.
movie Midnight Garden, Good and Evil. Don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
Okay. So John Cusack, Kevin Spacey, they're all in this movie, and they have a actual real life transgender woman in this movie. She
Sure.
actually exists.
Sure.
Her name was the Lady Chablis, and I just remember the first time I realized and I seen a transgender woman, like at the surface of my mind,
Hmm.
I was kind of like kind of repulsed in a sense, but something deep down inside me was like, hmm, that's interesting,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Like I needed to know more, you know.
Sure.
That's kind of what really started the real launch of
All
me
right.
transitioning and stuff because now I had something to kind of go off of, right? And so when I got orders to go to Washington State, I thought, oh boy, here's a good chance now because I know it's an LGBTQ friendly state.
Sure.
Maybe I can start finding some transgender people I can talk to. I
Right.
didn't quite still know. I just knew something resonated with me. I just knew
Sure.
something was curious
Sure.
for
You're
me.
exploring still. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But of course, as soon as I got to Fort Lewis, Washington, I was only there for a month and a half, 2 months maybe, before I got shipped over to Iraq. So I did my tour
Had
in
no
Iraq.
idea about that either. Wowzers. What year
Yeah.
is that you're shipping to Iraq?
Uh-huh.
What year?
That was 2009.
Nine. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
I left in October of 2009.
Okay. All right.
So I was in Iraq for basically 11 months. And so of course Jay still, now she's a mess. She's at home with the kids, and of course
Yeah.
at least the kids are old enough now to kind of take care of themselves because
Sure.
Jay's fighting demons. Jay's raging alcoholic now.
Yeah.
And I worry the whole time like I'm there, right? So I get back from Iraq in like September of 2010. And so then immediately I go down to Alabama and I get the family and I move them up to Washington State. So and here's where things really get interesting and take off again. So um again, Jay being the alcoholic person and stuff, and having issue after issue. In fact, she even one night, I went up to go to bed. She was downstairs drinking, and next thing I know, my daughter Destiny's coming up to me and upstairs saying something's wrong, with Jay. And I go downstairs and find out that she had swallowed a whole thing of pills, anxiety
Oh,
pills, and drank 2 bottles of wine. And I rushed her to the hospital.
sure.
They put a tube in her neck,
Yeah.
couldn't barely get her blood pressure up. They sent an army chaplain, which is like a religious type
Sure.
person,
Yeah.
to
I'm,
talk to me, and I'm like going, "Oh my gosh, here
yeah.
I am. She may end up dying right here." Um, it was a mess, right?
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
What she
Say
didn't
the
know,
least. Huh.
what I didn't know, what she didn't know was, she suffers from severe anxiety. She's bipolar. She just has lots of issues, and being in new environments in the military and stuff just didn't bode well for her. But so next thing I know, after she recovers from the hospital, she's shipping off to detox and to
Sure.
rehab, right? So now I'm at home with the kids. Of course, kids
Yeah.
going to school, right?
Yeah.
So when the kids are at school, Jay's gone for 30 days to rehab. What do I have time to do?
Yeah.
I go and start buying my own makeup. I go
Okay.
get my own wig for the first time.
Okay.
And it's the craziest thing because it's like even though I knew there was no chance anybody could see me doing what I was doing, I was so petrified.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I would never do a full thing of makeup. Like I would maybe like do a little bit of foundation or maybe just a little bit of eyeshadow or lipstick. I never
Sure.
fully did myself up, right?
Right.
But I put the wig on, and I put her clothes on a little bit, Again, I still don't understand fully what I'm doing,
Yeah.
but it just feels so right to me. Feels so good to me, right? Um, so one thing leads to the next. My marriage is on the rocks.
Right.
Jay ends up just getting vicious, really ugly with her
Ugh,
words,
not good.
just
Yeah.
tearing me apart, basically. Just attacking me. Basically, putting me down.
Yeah.
Just saying some of the worst
Mentally
things.
and verbally abusive.
Yes,
Sure.
exactly.
Sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I broke one night. I
Okay.
remember going upstairs, laying in bed, and just crying, knowing that, this wasn't meant to be. I
Right.
felt, I wasn't in love.
Sure.
I was done, right?
Sure. Yep, I
So
recognize that. There was a moment in the last couple of years that I was that way with my husband. I was still very much in love, but it was shifting
yeah,
very quickly, and I was done. And so I know that feeling. I understand that feeling.
yeah. So one thing leads to the next. I'm getting really hot and heavy and looking at transgender stuff. Whether it be
Yeah.
transgender porn, whether it be because now, of course, keep in mind, now we're talking about this is like 2011, right?
Sure.
I have what we call now an iPhone, right? I have
Right.
all kinds of access to the internet.
Yeah.
There's more material showing up out there on about transgender stuff, and
Right.
one evening I come across this video blog
Yeah.
of
Oh,
this
yeah.
transgender woman who was a retired Air Force Master Sergeant, which is an E8, which is what I am or what
Oh,
I
wow.
was at that time in the
Yeah.
Army.
Yeah.
And she was telling her transition story. And just deep down inside me, I was saying to myself, I want to be her. I am her,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that was the moment I knew who I was, but I still wasn't going to admit to myself,
Sure.
right?
2011-ish, you're saying. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So
Yeah.
deep down, I knew. But at the surface, I still was like denying everything. Okay.
Sure.
All I knew was transgender people really fascinated me.
Sure.
I was learning all I could. In fact, it was funny because so that's at the time we was up in Washington State. We were there from 2009 till 2013,
Sure.
and my oldest son, which was my stepson from one with Jay, right?
Yeah.
He came of age to start learning to drive. Well, we had this big SUV, we had a Ford Explorer, and he couldn't drive that thing, especially not up in Washington State. It was just so big of a vehicle, and it was such heavy traffic. So I ended up getting a small Ford vehicle, brand new, leased it, right, so that
Yeah.
he could have a vehicle he could actually work with and learn how to drive. Well, with that came a Sirius XM subscription.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I find this channel on this SiriusXM subscription of these two retired porn stars,
Mhm.
and lo and behold, what do they do a lot of other than they interview a bunch of transgender women?
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued. I
Sure.
want to know more. So
Yeah.
I'm paying attention to this type of stuff, right? It's all over, all around me. Okay.
Sure.
Um, so jump forward a little bit. So we leave Washington. We go back to Fort Rucker in Alabama in
Mhm.
2013. Well, I get my last duty assignment. This is where I'm going to finish up, and I'm going to retire. So I ended up actually retiring in 2016 after doing 23 years in the Army.
Yeah.
So we get back to Washington, or I'm sorry, get back to Alabama. Same thing still happening. My marriage is just a mess. Kids are getting close to graduating. I'm getting close to retiring. Jay's still an alcoholic. Jay's back and forth to rehab. And of course, what am I doing while she's at rehab?
Yeah. Right.
I'm putting on clothes, I'm putting on makeup, again, still not fully done. I'm not doing the right
Yeah.
thing. Well, also what happened too was so my daughter at the time comes out saying she likes women.
Yeah.
Now, of course, my daughter had been tomboyish like all her life.
Sure.
Okay. Always had sign, always wanted to be boyish, always wanted to have wear boys' clothes, all that stuff. Now, of course, she's coming into womanhood.
Yeah.
So, and I think it was 2016. Like I said, I end up retiring from the army.
Yeah.
Okay, and so my oldest son ends up going off to college. Um, and then Destiny's getting ready to go off to the army after she graduates. And so she comes out as trans.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh. As soon as she said those to us that she was trans, so she's pretty sure she's trans, my
Yeah.
mind went, oh my gosh, that's because of me.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, she didn't know you were doing those things though, so
That's correct.
yeah.
And I wasn't about to let that out the bag.
Yeah, right,
So
right.
I had a hard time with it, to be honest,
Yeah.
because Destiny already had a hard time in high school. She was odd in a sense.
Yeah.
Same thing I was really growing up.
Yeah.
I was always with the odd kids. I didn't fit in. I was shy. Of course, I was poor. I was small. I was only like 80 pounds, and even in high school, like I was super scrawny. I got picked on,
Yeah.
all the time. I was shy, you know. I just, um I struggled,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
And I know she did the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, now she's gonna come out transgender, and it's gonna be the same things. She's just compounding the problems, right?
Right, right.
And I'm scared for her, of course. And she had, oh my gosh, Charlie, when I retired, was retiring, I got a picture of her. She had the most beautiful hair, long
Yeah.
flowy hair. And I thought to myself, oh gosh, please don't cut that off. Well, lo and behold, what do you think she did?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Started aligning with herself, right? And watching the changes and look, then she comes, or he now lets us know his new name. And lo and behold, he picks the same name as what my best friend was growing up, which is Ryan.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, how weird is this?
Yeah.
You know? And it was like he would rebel against me all the time. The teenage years, right? We didn't click very well. We had, of course, Jay was very abusive, mentally with kids. And I had the army still. I
Yeah.
had to go places. I couldn't be there with kids all the time.
Right.
But one thing's for sure was I always ran the household. I
Yeah.
did basically everything because Jay had also agoraphobia. She didn't like getting. She had a fear of being out in large groups of people. In fact, so much so that there was a couple times we were in front of large groups of people. She would pass out in front of everything. I was like, oh
Oh,
gosh.
wow. Yeah.
Um. So yeah. Like I said, Ryan comes out and starts transitioning, and I'm watching the changes and witnessing full time, and right in front of me, and it just was weird. It was odd. It was like weird seeing your kid who was this one person for 18 years of their life now is somebody I didn't even know,
Right.
you know. Um, and yet, I was still. I mean, I was supportive, right? But
Yeah.
at the same time, there was a rift there because, like I said, it just seemed like he would do totally opposite of everything I wanted him to do. And I
Right.
was doing things and trying to get him to do things that I knew would be best for him. Or, but of course, obviously, we can't control anybody but ourselves. So, um, keep fast forwarding a little bit. So I think this was 2019. So the kids are grown, they're out of the house, right? It's just me and Jay now.
Hmm.
And Jay ends up ballooning up again. She got really fat. So she ended up having a couple lengths of time where she was sober.
Sure.
But when she got sober, she got fat.
Sure.
So she got really big again. So Jay was the type of person that never loved herself to begin with. So she
Yeah.
can't love anybody else.
Yep.
But so she comes to me in 2019. This was like March 2019. And she asked me if I'd be good with opening up our marriage.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah, all right.
So in my mind, I was like, again, I didn't have no connection with her.
Right.
Um, I was tired of everything. I was so depressed. You know, um, y- you know. So think about I retired in 2016 from the military. I still stayed with the military. I worked as an Army civilian, and I eventually got back into the air traffic control as an Army civilian in 2018. And I finally got my disability from the VA going, and so you know uh, my professional life was always good. Always had a great professional life, but my personal
Sure.
life was always just a freaking mess. Could never get things to go the way I really desired, right?
Sure. Sure.
There was no love there, there was
Yeah.
no, like I said, I was depressed, lonely, you know and had that feeling, sinking feeling going. There was always there's got to be more to life than this.
Right. Yeah.
um I knew there was something, you know there about me that I still didn't know yet.
Sure.
And now this offering comes where Jay opens up the marriage, and now I can explore myself.
Sure.
So I thought that's a good idea.
Yeah.
you know and so we laid the groundwork, and kind of like boundaries
Sure.
and stuff.
Yeah. Good for you.
But the reason why she wanted to open up marriage was because she reconnected on Facebook with an old high school crush she had,
Sure.
who lives in Las Vegas now, at the time, 2019,
Yeah.
and she wanted to go there and sleep with him.
Yeah. Well,
So what does she want to do? She wants to, because now keep in mind she's overweight, doesn't love herself, right? And this
sure.
guy is feeding her ego. This guy is feeding and thinking, telling her things that she's not getting from me,
Sure.
right? So
Sure.
now she's all gun ho about getting this weight gone. So she goes about, starts. Remember the Thrive?
Right.
Remember,
Yep.
this is where
Yep.
you and I
She
kind of
thrives.
start
I
connecting,
still
right?
thrive. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So that
Nutrition
led
is
me.
important a part of healing. So
That's
anyway.
that's where I found you.
Yeah. Yep.
Was because you were doing a Thrive thing, and I seen you
Yep.
doing a Thrive thing, and I reached out to you about getting Jay started on the Thrive thing so she could start losing weight, and that was the whole intent and purpose behind it, was
Yeah. Yeah.
so she could look good enough in her mind so she can go sleep with this guy in Las Vegas.
Oh Lord. I mean, we all need nutrition. So
Yeah. Well, and so like I said, so she gets on the ball. She starts exercising, starts working out, starts eating right, starting doing the Thrive thing, and
yeah,
she loses weight quickly,
good for her.
right?
I remember. She definitely.
Yeah,
I remember sharing some before and afters. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
she did good. Yeah.
And so we made plans to go to Las Vegas in 2020. In March of 2020, we were going to go to Vegas. So she
Okay.
could go, and during that week we were going to be there. She'd go off in her own
Have
place and
her
do her
fun. Yeah.
thing, and I can go
Right.
do mine. Right?
Right.
Her plan was to go be with that guy. My plan.
Yep. What better place?
What was my plan? I had scheduled myself to go get myself done up for the first time fully in makeup and women's clothes,
Yeah.
and try to find transgender women and stuff. And so, um, uh, lo and behold, of course, 2020 comes, and we go to Vegas
Yeah.
right when COVID starts shutting everything down. We get
Yeah.
there Saturday night, Sunday morning they start shutting down the Vegas Strip.
Oh, fun.
So
Yeah.
yeah, long story short, okay. Um, Again, after she opened the marriage, I could start exploring my sexuality and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And exactly what I did. And then of course I told you, uh, that leads me up to 2021,
Yeah.
where the real stuff
So,
starts going.
yeah, the moment that changed everything for you, right?
Yes.
Then, so talk about that, of course, and then you kind of mentioned it early on in therapy that you were in, but
Mhm.
I'm sure people would like to know too what help you sought out during, this moment that came that changed your life. And so now the life-changing thing, the catalyst happened. And so you start taking steps along the way. Even before then, what help did during your transition, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Good questions. Um, Obviously, as I said, marriage was open.
Right?
She and I were growing apart. I was finding more and more out about myself. But at the same time, so my mother-in-law, or Jay's mother, was she found out she had this alpha 1 disease, which is basically our liver produces something, an enzyme or something like that, that's in the coating to our lungs that protects our lungs from pollutants and stuff. And her mom didn't have that. Her mom's whole life, she didn't have, her lungs wasn't protected from pollutants or smoking or anything like that. So damage was done.
Yeah.
She was on her last leg. Um, and of course, her mom did 43 years as a high school history teacher.
Oh.
And she ended up doing 3 extra years before she retired because she wanted an extra measly $400 more a month in her retirement check. And
I get
so
it. I get it.
Jay's dad was, quite old, and he didn't do very well going to big cities like Birmingham. Now keep in mind, they live in Mississippi. We still live in Alabama. So I volunteered to take my mother-in-law to these doctor's appointments up at the UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham. And each time I'm doing this, her mom is just spilling her guts about all her regrets and things. And I was just like, they were just weighing on me, weighing
Yeah.
on me, weighing on me. I'm thinking to myself too, going, oh my gosh, I can't do that. That can't be me.
Yeah.
I know there's gonna be more to my life. I've always had this inkling too, most of my life, that I just knew I was meant for more. I knew I was supposed to be on a big stage. Like I couldn't never explain why. Um, but anyways, so I'm taking her mom back and forth to these appointments, all the way through 2020 up and through 2021. Something crazy also happened. So in January of 21, Jay, out of the blue, comes to me and says, "Hey, did you ever wondered what you look like as a woman?" What do you mean? Well, I have this app that take a picture of you, and it'll transform you and show you what you look like as a woman. Now, this keep in mind, this was January 21,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, how interesting."
Right. Right.
And she showed that picture to me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't take this much more." I'm
Sure.
like, I
It's all coming to a
it's
head.
coming to a
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So her mom passes away in February 21.
Oh,
We go to the funeral, and all I can keep thinking about is all those conversations, or what her mom was saying on the
yeah.
rides to
Sure.
her. And I'm like, now the reality is really hitting. She died,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so the close to the end of February 21, just like almost 2 weeks after her mom died, I had enough. I was like, I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna tell Jay that I want to dress in women's clothes. So I did.
Yeah.
I just come out and said, I just gotta tell you something. I want to dress in women's clothes. And she was kind of like, okay,
Right.
you
Right.
know. But I think what really she thought was maybe I just wanted to put like on a dress.
Sure.
And what I wanted to do was, um, I wanted to do myself up fully because I
Right.
had never done that, right? And of
Right.
course, now keep in mind, all throughout my time when I had the chances, when I was by myself, and I had gotten started buying my own makeup and I bought my own wig and stuff. Every time I'd buy the makeup and stuff, after I got done using it, I'd throw it all away.
Holy moly.
Yes,
Crazy.
yes. So, anyways, so so like I said, she's like, okay, fine, whatever. Um, and it was that same night. She was kind of like, so she just went into the bedroom for a moment, come back out with one of her dresses, and was like, "Here, try this on."
Yeah.
So I did, but I was like, "That's not what I'm getting at." I didn't quite say that to her. I just said, "Hey, look, I'm gonna get a few things off Amazon, and then this weekend I'm gonna do myself up." And so that's what I did. And oh my gosh, so I go in there in the bathroom Saturday morning, and first thing I do is shave all my body hair. I'm like, this has got to go. I can't stand it. Could never stand body hair. So I shave off all my body hair, and I'm so excited. Right? I mean, I bought like I said, I already had a wig, right? But I
Sure.
bought the fake eyelashes, I bought the fake breasts, I bought the fake nails, press on nails, the whole kit and
Sure.
caboodle, the
Yeah.
makeup, the whole thing, right?
Sure.
Um, and of course, I got an outfit, or two that I wanted, and so I did myself up fully for the first time ever. Full thing of makeup, wig on, like I said, fake eyelashes. I didn't really know what I was doing because I never fully did myself right.
Sure, sure.
I never dabbled in eyelashes. I never dabbled in putting on fake breasts or fake nails. And here I was. And oh my God, let me tell you, you want to talk about a light bulb moment in someone's life? After I got myself all done up, and I'm telling you, I'm so excited. I'm so nervous. I'm so many emotions. I'm like shaking while I'm putting makeup on and stuff, right? And I look at myself in the mirror and I see myself for the first time in my life. It was like myself in my mind said, what I was seeing in the mirror, oh, there you are.
Yeah.
It was
Interesting.
such a defining moment for me.
Yeah. Interesting.
I finally felt at home with myself,
Yeah, I understand
right?
that. Yeah.
Um, and I loved what I was looking at.
Sure.
I never loved who I was. I never loved what I looked like as a guy.
So can I ask what did you love about it? Because it's, you know, what was it about dressing as a woman or, dressing as a woman that you loved that made you feel
The feeling it
authentic,
gave
I
me,
guess?
well, one was the feeling it gave me. Like just felt right. It fit,
Sure.
right?
Okay.
Um, and I don't know. I couldn't explain it. I just knew, right? I knew it
Sure.
was me.
Sure. Okay.
Um, but at the same time, though, the craziest thing is I would still like I didn't understand, right? I still didn't fully
Sure.
grasp.
Sure. Sure.
I still didn't admit who I was to myself at this
Right.
time, right? But it didn't take long from here.
Sure.
So like I said, I did
And let
myself
me
for,
ask, how old are you at this point?
oh gosh, 45,
Okay. All
45
right.
years old, right? Living
Yeah.
my life 45 years old as a
Sure.
man.
Yeah.
Um, being hidden from the world, being small, keep myself small, never talking to people, never letting people know the real me, right? Um, again, hating what I look like all my life, not understanding why, just repulsed me, hating myself in a sense, right?
Hmm.
Um, just not feeling right. Just didn't, nothing felt right. Nothing in my life worked right.
Sure.
Um, and everything when I did that, I felt right. I felt in alignment, right?
Sure.
But I felt so happy. I love, I saw beauty in myself,
Sure.
right?
Okay.
And so for the first time, it didn't take long. I again, this person who before me, before that moment,
Yeah.
who didn't want the world to know who he or she was,
Right.
didn't was scared, was small, stayed small, um, all of a sudden wanted the world to see them,
Sure.
right?
Sure. Yeah.
It was like quickly I wanted to be out in the world as Kelly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So Jay now, of course, is drinking again heavily because her mom just died. Now she's
Yeah.
getting revealed that her so-called husband is a woman or dressing like a woman, dressing like a woman.
Right.
Her world's just crumbling around, right? And
Right.
I'm happy as can be now. I'm just so I can't wait to do it again. I can't wait
Right.
to be myself. I can't wait to dress up and I'm taking pictures of myself all the time, taking selfies of myself dressed
Yeah.
up as Kelly. Now of course I didn't have a name for myself yet either this time.
Sure.
Um, but um, Jay and her, anxiety self went to straight to trying to control it all. You can only dress this time. You can only do it on the weekends. And if you're gonna do it, you got to do it outside on the back porch. You can't. She tried to control everything of it, right? She didn't want to see it. She didn't want to be part of it. She didn't,
Yeah.
all yada yada yada, right? Um, I know you asked the question too, like who. Now this is parts where you say, what pieces also came into play, like my therapist,
Right. Who,
me.
so now you're dressing as a woman and it's
Uh huh.
becoming even more evident that this is where you're heading to. Do you
Yes.
then seek out therapy and or whatever avenue, from there you talk to explore that more than just being a surface level thing, right?
Right. Yeah. So okay. So like I said, it didn't take but a hot minute literally like 2 3 weeks after I started dressing, and that I wanted to go out into the world like that, right?
Right.
So I found an LGBTQ club close to where I lived, and so I told Jay, I was like, hey, I'm going to go down to this club dressed in my women's clothes, my makeup all done.
Right.
So one weekend on a Friday night, I think it was, I did that. I got myself all done up. Um, Drove down there for 45 minutes. Where it took me to get there, and I sat in that parking lot for about 2 to 3 hours
Huh.
to get up the courage to go inside that bar. And
Interesting.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, I go inside, and it's the whole bar itself is like a L shape, and
Sure.
there's people all along the bar, right? And I walk by, and there's seats on all the way on the other side of the bar. Well, I know I passed a couple transgender women in there, and one of them was older, like older than me.
Sure.
So I go and I sit down at the end of the bar. I ordered me a drink, and it didn't take about 20 minutes for that older trans woman to come over to me, start talking to me.
Yeah.
And so the point was that we get to talking, and she asked me if I was trans.
Yeah.
Still not admitting to myself, right? I tell her, no, I'm a cross dresser.
Yeah.
And she says to me, she says, do you know what the difference between a cross dresser and transgender woman is? And I'm like, yeah, of course I do. I've been delving into this stuff, quite a bit over the last 10 years and stuff. And so I was like, I said, yeah, but before I could say anything else, she says, it's about 3 to 5 years. Get it? Meaning
Yes.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just not admitting to myself who I am, and
Yeah.
within 3 to 5 years, I'll figure it out, and I'll
Right.
ultimately understand I'm trans.
Yeah.
That
Right.
someone like me don't just show up as I did, fully done up,
Right.
and not and be just cross dresser, right? But
Right.
I wasn't ready to admit to myself. I didn't know who I was still.
Right.
So, but that was kind of like an aha moment because when she said that to me, I can just remember deep down in myself going, "You're just fooling yourself. You're just
Right.
fooling yourself. You're not fooling nobody else. You're just fooling yourself, right?"
Right.
So, anyways, this was in like April of early April of 21. So again, keep in mind, Jay's trying to control every bit of this, right? And
Right.
I'm wanting, and the more I do it, the more I got to do it. The more
Right.
it just becomes more controlling over me, right? And when moments when Jay would be like, "No, you're not allowed to do that," because see, the control she had was if somebody else found out, she blabbed her mouth, then my secret would be out, right? So
Right.
I fell in line kind of with how she wanted me to do things. So when she'd say like, "No, you can't dress this weekend," oh, I would curl up in a ball and like just go into depression. Like I was so sad. I was
Sure.
like, I had to be me, right?
Sure. Sure.
So it got to a head point. So June, I'm thinking to myself, what is going on? This pull, this tug, is overwhelming. I have this urge, and it gets more and more stronger every time I get dressed up and I go out,
Sure.
and I feel alive. Um, so I seek therapy. I seek a therapist. And so the first week of July of 21, I meet my favorite therapist for the first time.
Oh, good. Okay.
And so I couldn't have asked for a better therapist. She was great. It took so when I first met her the first couple of times, of course, this was now after COVID, right? So it
Sure.
was still just there was no office visits. It was still over video, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so my first 4 visits, I did it presenting as Rodney still.
Sure.
Okay. Um, but by this time, I had a
And who
whole.
is Rodney?
Oh yeah, that was the male version of me.
Okay. All right. All right.
Okay, so in July, I start getting with my therapist. Like I said, um, then I'm still going regularly, like probably twice a month, 3 times a month, down to
Sure.
the bar, LGBTQ bar. I'm
Okay.
with my people. I'm with my people. I'm learning who
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm getting so much attention at
Yeah.
the club. But literally from April of 21 to like September 21,
Hmm.
I didn't have to buy myself a drink. They were being bought for me.
Yeah.
That's how much attention I was getting at the
Yeah.
club, being
Right.
myself, right?
Right.
I didn't know what to do with this attention. It was totally new to me, right?
Right.
But this is also where I came up with my name because I was thinking to myself, here I am coming to this club, I'm dressing up as a woman, and people are wanting to know, hey, what's your name? I'm not gonna say Rodney. So I came up with the name Kelly. So
Yeah.
of course I went through a bunch of names, okay, female names, and I knew I already had like five names, women's names that I really, really liked. And so something about Kelly just resonated.
Sure.
And I just started introducing myself as Kelly, and it just
Sure.
felt right, right? And I just started using that, right?
Right.
So by the time I met my therapist, I had my female name picked out.
Gotcha. All right.
Um, and so, but like I said, so the first 4 weeks I was presenting as Rodney to my therapist in the video chat things. But by this time I'd already taken probably 100 photos of selfies of myself as Kelly.
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
and so I got the courage up about the fourth time meeting my therapist, and I said, "Hey," I said, "You want to see what I look like as a woman?" And she said, well, if you're ready, yeah, sure.
Right. Right.
So I grabbed 10 photos of me, selfies, the ones I really like of
Okay. I
myself,
gotcha.
right? And Charlene, oh my gosh. So I turned my because I'm on my computer, right? So I turn
Sure.
my phone around with my picture of me dressed up as Kelly, and I show it to her, and her mouth dropped open. She said, "Oh my God!" And I'm thinking, "What?" She's like, "You are gorgeous," and I'm like, "Oh, well, what a relief, you know."
Yeah. Right. Right.
But she allowed me to be me,
Yeah.
right? It
Yeah.
was like, um, I'll never forget that moment because it was so authentic. Her reaction,
Sure.
her gasp, her oh my God, and I'm
Sure.
thinking to myself, what is she seeing?
Right.
Um, and so I showed her, of course, now I want to show her more pictures, right? So I showed her 9 more pictures, and she says to me, she says, Kelly, she says, do you know something about those photos? And I'm like, no, what are you getting at? You know? She's like, you're smiling in all of
Smiling.
them.
Yeah. I noticed
Yes.
that when you
She's
first
like, you're
started
happy in
sharing.
all of them.
Yeah. I noticed that when you first started sharing.
Yes. And can
Yeah.
you believe, like, literally, like, the last 10 years, like, basically from, like, before I started dressing up as Kelly, for 10 years prior to that, I might have taken 10 pictures of myself as
Sure.
Rodney.
Sure.
And within the first year of being Kelly, I probably took 1,000 photos of myself.
Right.
That
Right.
tells you anything.
No, I get it.
Um,
I get it.
so, anyways, so the whole month of July 21, I'm going through these therapy sessions once a week. I spent that whole month of July questioning everything, questioning my entire life, questioning, is this really me? Um, I kid you not, I was thinking night and day. It was nonstop. I was, wondering, oh, is this really me?
Right.
What is
Right.
wrong? What is going on here? I'm
Right.
feeling, kinds of, um, so by the time in July rolls around, I realized something. I was like, everything that said that I wasn't a trans woman was out of fear. But
Okay.
ultimately, what I feared more, though, than being a trans woman, was that I would find a reason to not pursue who I really was, and that I would stop being happy. I would
Yeah.
stop being me, and that
Sure.
scared me more than the fears that somebody would find out my truth.
Sure. Right. I mean, I ask myself that all the time. How would I feel on my deathbed about this if I didn't do it or if I did do it
Yeah,
or,
yeah,
so
yeah,
I get it. Yeah.
yeah. So I told my therapist that I
Yeah.
said, there's no reason that I'm not who I say I am, other than my fears of people finding out. I didn't know how I was going to let myself out of my job. I didn't know what was going to happen with my marriage. I didn't know what my kids were going to think. I didn't know what my mom was going to think. How was
Right.
I going to do this? I'm too
Well, your
new.
one child was already in that position.
Yes,
So that was
exactly.
camaraderie that you probably now have that wasn't even there before.
That's correct. I do, but
Yeah.
that wasn't happening at that time.
Sure, sure.
I
Yeah.
still didn't know. I couldn't even accept myself. How could anybody else accept me?
Sure.
So
So July you were in therapy. By the end of July, you're like, okay, okay, this is who I am. So
yes,
you stay in therapy
I
for
stayed
how
in therapy. So
long?
I did therapy for the next 2 years.
Okay, okay.
But so some key points. So in August of 21,
Yep.
Jay finally had enough of drinking again. She drank from the time my mom passed away in February 21 to August 21 before she went back to detox again for 7 days. Um, and so during that point in time in August, I was coming to some conclusions that my marriage was done.
Sure.
I was tired of playing small. Um, I did this thing that my therapist told me about. I took some radical acceptance of myself.
Sure.
I didn't understand why I was who I was, but I knew it was me, and I knew it was
Sure.
real, and I knew it was my truth, and I just knew that everything felt right, everything felt good. Again, now keep in mind, you know, I'm having to read positive quotes. I'm getting I'm getting to know myself.
Sure.
I'm getting going down to the club and being around my people where I'm
Yeah.
accepted, where I can understand myself, where I can be seen, I can fully be
Right.
myself, where I don't have to deal with life. I can just be me.
Right.
And of course I watched. That's when I was watching the years before I was watching your videos
Right.
and seeing how you changed your life and for the better, and it's just all coming to a head, right? And I'm like
Right.
going, Jay's sitting here, she's a mess.
Right.
My marriage is a mess. My kids are gone. I'm sick and tired of just life.
Being sick
I
and
am.
tired. Sick and tired of
Yes,
being sick and tired. I
I was
understand.
sick and tired of her trying to control me.
Yeah.
Um, so basically after she got out of rehab, or well, she didn't go to rehab. She went detox this time. She didn't go to rehab, but after she came out of detox, it's when she started kind of accepting me as Kelly.
Okay.
Started questioning some things, and we started going out shopping, clothes shopping together. Started going out. I really started going out more in public, like Walmart or to eat. So basically, I was starting to live my life as Kelly.
Yeah.
Every moment except for the moment I have to be at work.
Sure.
So imagine me constantly going back and forth, flipping back and forth. So when I have to go to work, I'm presented as Rodney. As I come back home, I'm jumping in, and putting my clothes on, female clothes on, my doing myself up, makeup.
Right.
Um, so October of 21, I finally, because Jay was still trying to control some stuff again. I had a closet full of women's clothes by this time. I had all kinds of shoes. So I started building jewelry of my own, so I didn't have to use hers, and it just came to a head. I was
Yep.
like, I'm done. I'm not playing small anymore.
Right.
I don't care anymore.
Right.
You could rat me out to the world. I'm going to do me now,
Right.
and I'm not no longer going to be manipulated into following how she wanted me to do things.
Right.
So it wasn't shortly thereafter, November of 21, I met a trans woman locally who was on hormones,
All right.
and she lent me some.
Oh. Okay.
So November of 21, Thanksgiving time, I get these patches of hormones of estrogen,
Yeah.
and now I got a decision to make. Now in my hands is my gold. In my hands, right now. Keep in mind, I'm an air traffic controller by trade. I'm an army civilian. I'm an air traffic controller. So we are very stringently guided by medical norms. Like we have to get a flight physical every year, and we have to pass the flight physical, and we have lots of laws we have to follow. Like anything that's mood altering or mind altering is a big no no in my field. And so
Except for
I had
everybody drinks,
what's that?
but people
Yeah,
drink.
yeah. So one of the rules we have is you have to stop drinking 12 hours prior to going on shift. You can't have
Okay.
and you can't have any hangover effects, because if
Sure.
you
Sure.
do, if something happens
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they find out,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
lose your job. Okay,
Yeah. 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 Okay. Okay.
so you have to get a flight physical every year
Sure.
during your birth month. Which my birth month is April. So,
Hmm.
but you can start your flight physical 90 days prior to that. So I can start as early as February to get my
Sure.
flight physical. But thing is, they do all these checks, and I'm thinking, if I start these hormones, all these changes are going to start. I'm going to start
Yeah.
growing breasts.
Right.
You know, I ain't gonna be able to hide it, right?
Right.
But ooh, I have this gold, right? What is Kelly going to do? And am I gonna let Jay know, right?
Yeah.
And so December 1st, 2021, I slapped my first patch on my body. Mm, it felt so amazing. I kid you not. I came alive. It felt so good. I mean, it
Good.
was just,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. It didn't take me, but, and now of course I, so I didn't tell Jay. I still didn't know how I was going to come out at work. I didn't know what I was going to do for my upcoming flight physical. All I knew was I had to do what I was doing.
Sure.
And, and so, like I said, I had to start the patch on, and it wasn't but 7 days I started feeling strange feelings in my breasts.
Sure.
I started getting pain in my breasts because they're going to start growing, right?
Right.
Changes are starting to take place. So by the time of Christmas and rolled around, I finally let the cat out of the bag. I told Jay that I had started hormones already, and that I wasn't stopping. I only like I had that trans woman gave me maybe like a month and a half's worth of
Sure.
patches, so I had to get them from the same place she did, which was she was getting from a pharmacy in Australia through the internet, and so it takes a while to ship over here to the States.
Sure.
But I wasn't stopping.
Right.
And so, oh, Jay lost her mind. Oh, she started throwing down the, you cross the red line. If you get boobs, you start growing boobs, I'm done. I'm out. We're done. We're over, you know? And I'm like,
Sure.
okay.
Right. Right.
So, next big thing, I have to come out to the medical folks, the flight doctors and
Yeah.
things. And so, nervously, the mid to end of January, I called to schedule my flight physical, and I had to tell him, I'm like, look, I'm like, I'm trans, I'm transitioning. Although I didn't tell them I was on hormones yet, I just
Sure.
basically was telling them coming out, right. So that kind of started that whole process. So anyway, so I'm dealing with that now. So now I get medically grounded, meaning I can't perform my duties as an air traffic controller, but I come up with a different excuse for my boss, because I have kidney disease. I have stage 2 kidney disease, and so I had to have a waiver for that, medical waiver for that, to do air traffic control. So I used that as an excuse, saying there was issues with my kidneys still, so they medically grounded me, because that means I could be grounded for an extended period of time, because by Army standards I had to be medically grounded for a minimum period of 18 months the moment I start hormones.
Sure.
Okay,
Okay.
um, so remember now, I'm getting hormones from Australia. I'm not I'm
Right.
not I'm not under a doctor's care.
Right.
Um, but meanwhile, in all this process, I had already lined up with the VA, because I already got my disability through them, and they offer the trans healthcare stuff for free. So I was already lining up, having them let me see an endocrinologist and get on hormones the right way, and where I can get checked right and all that
Sure.
stuff right.
Sure.
So I let my flight doctors know all this. So they ended up waiting until April, when I finally got my first batch of hormones prescribed to me from an endocrinologist, and I was actually
Sure.
on the right track. So they medically ground me from there. um, and so things just continued to kind of take off and snowball from there. Then it was I'm stepping more fully into myself. I'm
Right.
starting to notice the changes, the physical changes. you know
Yeah, I guess
um
this is a good time to segue into what it actually means to transition physically, mentally,
yeah,
emotionally, talking about the medical aspect of it, and why or how it helped you. Yeah.
yeah. So when I say I you know I when I say the date that I actually started my transition, I use the date of 1 December 2021, because
Sure,
that's the day that I started medically transitioning.
sure,
So we can, again, so there's medical transition, there's social transition, right?
sure.
And so socially transition just means you're living your life
Yeah,
as of the other gender, right? And you're
right,
you're so you're presenting that way out in the world, but doesn't necessarily mean you're doing the medical steps. You're not you're
right,
not you're not may, you may not be on the hormones, you may not be getting surgeries lined up, that kind of thing. But you're presenting yourself out in the world as, that's what socially transitioning means.
right,
So I use the medical transition point, because even so, I actually started medically transitioning before I started socially transitioning, really. Even though, because the only times I was, well, I mean, I was going out. The only place by the time April of 22 rolled around, the only place I wasn't presenting as Kelly was at work.
sure,
Every moment after that, I was, no matter where I went, what I was doing, I was presenting as Kelly that time.
right, sure.
So, of course, like I said, physical changes, right? So
Yeah,
when you go on transitioning from male to female, what things the hormones do is, of course, the breast growth, right? It softens your skin. It starts um, redistributing your body fat. So guys tend to get their body fat in like their bellies, and women get it in their hips, their butt, and their breasts and face. And so it starts shifting the body fat.
Okay.
Another thing it did was when I started on the hormones, I was 170 pounds. And within 30 days, or not 30 days, 90 days of starting hormones, I dropped from 170 pounds to 145 pounds because it ate all my muscle.
Huh.
I went super weak.
Yeah.
um, so that was one of the big drastic changes was quickly noticed within 90 days. I dropped a lot of weight and like what I used to be able to lift, like 5, 6 grocery bags, I could lift like two.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
So because guys are muscular, right? Because of the testosterone, and women
Sure.
are more fat, and so that's what it's doing. It's changing over my muscle to fat. Is what
Right.
it was doing. It starts changing you physically, in your face and stuff. Now, of course, the changes are very time length wise. So some things take more time. Like for
Sure.
instance,
Sure.
quickly, I told you, within 7 days after I started hormones, I could start feeling the pain in my breasts that they were already starting to grow.
Right.
Um, the softening of the skin happened quickly. It doesn't stop body growth hair or facial growth hair, but it slows it down a lot.
Sure.
So I went from having to shave my body like every 3 days to finally like I could go 7, 8 days without having to keep shaving my body and stuff.
Sure.
And then like I said, and then of course the big part people don't ever talk about a lot is the mental part. So it starts
Right.
changing your brain, starts lining you up, right? Like, you know, there were moments I can recall I'd just be sitting there at the club and I just had to cry. I would just start
Right.
crying for no
Right.
reason.
Right.
Start crying, right?
Right.
But so it allowed me to connect with my emotions more. That's those kinds of things. So
Sure.
that's the differences between socially transitioning and medically transitioning. And so I started medically transitioning. Although I can say it was, I guess it's kind of a combination. I did socially transition too, but um, that kind of leads me into uh, that. So November of 22, I've been on hormones for about a year now, right? And that's generally the guidelines. They want you to wait, be on hormones for about a year before you start considering any surgeries.
Right.
And of course, I'm small framed, right? I'm very small, very thin, petite. Like I said, like 140 pounds. I'm almost 6 foot tall, and I got maybe an A cup growth in my breasts, and that just wasn't going to cut it. So I ran into another trans woman locally that she went to a surgeon up in Birmingham who did her breast surgery, augmentation surgery, and so I jumped right on the gun, and I was like, I'm going to go have that surgery. So actually, in September of 22, I came out to my boss as being trans, and so that allowed me to go ahead and go, okay, now I can fully prepare to step where I don't have to keep transitioning back and forth from Rodney to
Sure.
Kelly, right? And of course, it was so tiring. By the time November come around, I've been a year going back and forth. Um, I was just tired of it. I was ready. I was so over it. I couldn't
Right.
stand going back to being Rodney at all, or male at all, presenting at all. I was growing my hair out.
Right.
The changes were taking place. I was ready to get my breast surgery done, my top surgery, and so I called up and I scheduled my date and got a date for January of 23 to get my breast augmentation done, and told my boss that I was going to get it done, and I figured that was going to be um, before I go to get that done. Um, I was going to come out at work to everybody. I would not because I was just
Sure.
out with my boss. Uh, so that was going to help me, right? So because I figured, okay, well, if I'm going to get this breast augmentation done, because right now I'm only got A cups, and people can't really notice if I put bulky stuff on, they can't really notice.
Right.
But if I go get breast augmentation done, there's just going to be no way to hide it. So I got
Right.
to step fully into Kelly and be me. So that's exactly
Right.
what I did.
Yeah.
So I went and scheduled it and got it done, and actually, so because I went and left work for Christmas vacation to go be with my parents and them in December of 22. That was the point where I finally got my nails done, acrylic like I wanted. Um, and was like, I'm not turning back. I will never, not one more day will I present as Rodney. I threw away all my male clothes, that I didn't like. I mean, I did keep some of them, but that was just, But anyways, I just at that point in time, there was not gonna be a moment I was gonna present as Rodney ever again or male, and since then I haven't. And so,
So now you're going to talk about learning to be your authentic self.
yes. So now I'm fully into it, right?
Yeah,
So, oh my gosh, uh, 2023. So. I get my breast augmentation done the end of January 23, and things really start spiraling out of control. I had already started putting plans into motion to leave Jay.
right.
We had owned a house. It was just me and her and the dogs, and I had already put in plans into motion to leave her to get my own apartment. Um, by this time I'm out at work, right? I still can't do air traffic control, so they're trying to find me another job I can do while I'm still medically grounded. Because once I get stabilized and hormones and stuff, I could eventually return back to doing air traffic control and stuff. So I'm kind of in limbo, but I'm still figuring out all the pieces, all the legalities of it. I'm still talking to all the people, and my bosses are trying to figure out how we navigate this because they never had a civilian transition before. Uh, so I have that going on. I'm still doing my transition, right? I'm working on things like getting my name changed, my legal name changed. So I end up leaving Jay March 1st of 2023, sooner than I wanted. I wasn't totally prepared. I had a game plan in place, but I wasn't ready to implement that plan. I had no idea how I was going to totally afford it. I hadn't really looked at the apartments or called about them. But she made me so mad one day, March 1st, accusing me of things because she got drunk.
Oh,
I went outside to try to get away from her out in the backyard. She followed me out there screaming as loud as she could so the neighbors could hear how I'm trans, how I'm this, how I'm awful this, that, and the other. And I was like, you know what? I'm just done. I'm out
yeah,
here.
yeah,
And I left.
yeah.
And I didn't know where I was going. I didn't have a place to go. I didn't know how I was going to make it happen. Here I am, like I said, just had my breast augmentation surgery. I'm not supposed to be lifting heavy things. I got to get my things out of the house because I'm worried she's going to destroy them. Like I said, my work now life is in limbo. I'm still pushing forward. I'm still not out to everybody. As far as like some family and friends and things like that. It's just my world is just all over the place.
Yeah, whirlwind.
Right?
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
And me, my natural self wants to be in control, wants to control it all, wants to have a game plan for it all. And my therapist finally said to me, Kelly, sometimes the best thing you can do is just let it go. Let the pieces fall where they may.
Yeah,
Because I was so like I'm like there's so many big things happening right now.
right,
And I don't know which way to turn.
right,
Um and so I did. I did what she said. Well, fuck it, in a
right,
sense.
right.
I was like,
Oh, hey, you know
uh,
what? Wait till I get to talking.
it's like, let the cards fall where they may. And let me
Yeah,
tell you what, I could not, if I had planned it myself, it could not have fallen into place any better.
it
It
did.
just, I went and got my apartment, found an apartment, found a good apartment. Um, I broke free from Jay, you know, I got my legal name changed finally shortly after that. My job, it was like one of those, they gave me like almost an ultimatum, like either you accept this new position we're going to give you or you're fired.
Oh,
Uh, and now Jay's leaving to move back to Mississippi. I have a house to sell.
right.
Um, you know, uh, just a whirlwind of things going
Yeah,
on, in my life. And like I said, it just boom, 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 boom falls. And, she leaves. I'm able to get the house sold quickly. I make a big profit off of it. um, you know, uh, I get a good job that kind of keeps me hidden away while I'm still
sure,
transitioning.
sure.
I get with a group of people that are very accepting of me. Like I said, I got the house sold. I got my life on track. I got my name legally changed. I
Yep.
started getting all my license, my birth certificate, my license, and all that stuff changed over, and getting my life on track. Right, I can finally breathe. Let me tell you, when I left Jay in March of 2023, my life was chaos. It was
Sure.
like she would fight me tooth and nail every night. She'd find some reason to just argue with me, fight
Sure.
me, you know.
Misery
And
loves company.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
was just I had no peace in my life. So when I got to my apartment for the first time, Jay basically allowed me to grab a bed, like a TV stand, one TV, um, and that was literally it. That's all I was moving into my two-bedroom apartment with
Been
was
there,
a
done
bed,
that. I understand.
and it was the best time of
Right.
my life. I had peace in my life
Yeah.
for 3 months. I literally probably never turned the TV on. I just wanted the silence. I just wanted the peace.
Sure. Sure. I can imagine.
It was so calming. And then at the same time, sometimes it was almost like I don't even know what to do with myself.
Right. Right.
You
So now
know?
here you are in your apartment. You're living your authentic self.
Yes.
And things have kind of started to just as fall as they will, fall as they may, right into place for you.
Yep.
Um, do you think that you have more transitioning to do, to feel more wholly yourself, or where are you at with that?
Yeah, so great question. And yeah, absolutely. Well, the general timeline a lot of people go off of is 5 years.
Okay.
So the time you start medically transitioning, 5 years is about a key time frame because they say after about 5 years, um, that's about the maximum you're going to get any changes caused by the hormones.
Sure.
So I'm at come December this year, I'll be 4 years
All right.
into my transition. So I basically have one more year of what I would consider, being in transition.
Sure.
Um, but as I've already shared with you guys, I had breast augmentation surgery done, and I fully plan to get the bottom surgery done too.
Hmm.
It's just a matter of time. So,
Sure.
um, for me to feel complete and whole, I need to do that.
Sure.
And so, yeah, a couple things have changed. So when finally got peace with Jay, I
Yeah.
started working on the
I'm
piece of
sorry.
my
Dog
life.
parenting.
It's all right. So I started working on the piece of my life.
Mhm.
That was was just the worst parts of my life, which was my personal life. Kept thinking to myself, going, I'm the type of person that I'm just a loving person by nature. I like to be around people. People always gravitate towards me. But I want to find true love this time. I want to be in a real relationship. I want to understand, I wasn't placing blame on one person. I was accepting ownership of my own pieces and parts to it.
Sure.
And
Sure.
and so I started doing the work. And the funny thing is I found this book one time right after I started transitioning called How to Be Hot in Your Relationships, HOT. Not now, HOT actually stands for honest, open, and trusting. And
Yep.
that's where I learned about where the lady who wrote the book talked about being your true authentic self. And until you're actually truly yourself and authentically
Oh,
yourself,
God. Come
your
on.
life is basically never going to fall into place. Everything in your life is not going to be easy. It's always going
Right.
to be hard because there's a tug and pull in your life that happens when you're not in alignment with yourself.
Right.
And so of course, I'm starting to do the work. I'm journaling, I'm learning who I am. Journaling was my safe place. It's where I could actually open up and fully express what's in my mind, what's in my head, and
Right.
nobody else can know but me. Um, and so I'm doing the work. And the funny thing is, I thought actually I was doing work to heal myself completely as a person, and I wasn't. I was just focusing on the relationship aspect of my
Sure.
personal life. And so, long story short, I spent the next 2 years, um, you know, kind of dating, going on dating apps,
Yeah.
making friends with people, and nothing was working. It's just a mess. Just a mess. You come to find what they like to do with trans women, especially men, is use us for sex. And they don't want a relationship because they can't admit to themselves who they are, what they like,
Sure.
who they love. But but it's just like we're a fetish, right?
Sure.
People are just curious in nature, to who
Right.
we are. So, um, yeah, I spent a long time um, going through everything again. Once again, that wasn't meant for me because there
Right.
was always something that would happen if I met somebody and I got interested, that why it didn't work. And the craziest part is, so by the time January 2024 rolled around, I was exhausted. I was at my wit's end
Sure.
with going on these dating apps, with meeting people. Nothing was working. I was sick and tired, going, why is nothing working? Why can't I find the woman for me? And then I thought, thinking to myself, maybe I'm asking too much. Because I had a list of what I was looking for in somebody.
Right.
Maybe I
Right.
was asking for too much. So I started pulling away from getting on my dating apps. I was pulling away from wanting to meet somebody when I was out and about at the clubs and stuff. I was just like done, right?
Yeah, I was
So
gonna ask, did you spend any time just being Kelly and not trying to date? Because it seems like it kind of all came at the same time.
it did, because I didn't understand how to handle this newfound me. I didn't
Sure.
understand how to handle being in the spotlight, like all the attention I would get. Oh, you're so beautiful. Oh, you're so gorgeous. Oh,
Yeah.
come on. There's no way you were born a male. No way. Just, the compliments I would get,
Sure.
like building up the person that was hurt, broke, didn't like themselves, didn't love themselves. Again, going from this broke, depressed, someone who couldn't love themselves,
Right.
to being a shining star, being in love with what they see in the mirror, being in love with life again, being happy and joyous. It was like a complete 180. Just
Right.
like I said again, this was another telling piece that this is really me.
Right.
This is who I am, because once I started transitioning, everything I wanted in my life, everything I desired, started just falling in place. Now, it
Right.
wasn't easy. I
Sure.
still had
Well,
trials and
nothing worth having is
tribulations,
easy. So,
because I still hadn't done the work on myself. I still hadn't
right.
healed the wounds, the old traumas, things like that I've been doing over the last 2 months. So I was still a nervous wreck, and I'm still learning who I was, and I'm still coming into my body. I'm still learning how to process my thoughts and emotions and feelings. I'm still, going through, these changes, both
Sure.
mentally and physically.
So, what do you think people often misunderstand about being transgender, and what's one thing you wish more people knew about your journey?
So I think that people look at trans people as being the imposter,
Hmm.
when actually it's the other way around. That actually I'm actually being the real true me
Yeah.
now. That is not a fad. It's not a trend. It's just you see more of it now because it's prevalent, because it's in the news, because it's in the political climate, because people felt more safe to come out and be who they really are. But at the same time, it's like when I first started too, I thought, what's wrong with me? I got this shame and guilt. Why is this me? Like it felt like a curse to me. Like this was a burden that I got to bear. And why? Right? What's
Sure.
my purpose? What's behind this? Now I know. I understand. One being is that my soulmate, my true life soulmate, is someone who's attracted to transgender people. So
Sure.
I had to be trans to be able to be with my soulmate first and
Right.
foremost.
Right.
Well, my other calling, I come to find, is doing what I'm doing now. Building. Remember that piece I was telling you about earlier? I had this feeling, I had this calling that I was belonged on a big stage.
Right.
I was meant to do something big in my life, and I
Right.
couldn't quite explain it. And this is it. This is it.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.
That and in fact, when my fiance Todd, when I met him, I even told him from the get go. I said, I could just tell things. I could start to sense things, right, and coming in alignment with myself. I could say I knew I didn't belong in Alabama anymore.
Right.
I knew I was meant for something bigger. I couldn't explain it. I couldn't tell you
Right.
why. I couldn't tell
Right.
you what. I just knew. I could sense it, right? And so now it all makes sense.
Right.
This is why I had to be trans because Rodney wouldn't have been strong enough. Rodney wouldn't have been capable of presenting himself to the world like this. Rodney wouldn't have been able to tell the story I can tell now because Rodney didn't get to go through all the things that Kelly got to go through. So again, that goes back to the whole thing of I don't know what I know because I read it in a book. I don't know what I know because someone told me. I know what I know because I went through it.
Sure. 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 So, and
Um,
then one thing you wish people knew about your journey?
well, so I don't think I fully fulfilled what you asked last time, which was, again, what I really want to get across is this is the real me. This is the true me. Um, think about everything I just told you. Do you think somebody would wake up one day and go, I'm going to put my whole life on the line here. I'm gonna, take a risk to lose my marriage. I'm gonna take a risk to lose my job. I'm gonna take a risk to lose my family and friends. I'm gonna take a risk to put my safety out there that somebody that's not gonna understand me is gonna kill me.
Right.
To transition, to be
I
myself.
mean, so to play devil's advocate a little bit, there
Uh-huh,
are detransitioners. There
uh-huh,
are people out there who have transitioned and then later was like, no, this was not what it was. Also, though, I think I don't know a lot, but so don't quote me on it, but I have seen it seems that most of those are ones that were very early on. And
yes.
you know what I mean? Because you were much older. You were a grown adult. You had life experience. Your natural biological brain and chemistry and all of that had been developed. Your mental, state development, had time to develop because you're not really fully developed as a human adult being until your early 20s, even mid 20s, in some
Right.
cases. And you were well beyond that. So, I
Yes.
mean, and that's kind of a side note. The one thing for me, I'm very big on you do you, boo, for sure. If
Sure.
it makes you happy, do you know what I mean? Especially if it makes you find happiness and meaning, because I think happiness is fleeting.
Yes.
And that's part of our problem is we're chasing something that's fleeting when we should be creating meaning in our life, and that in and of itself presents happiness
Oh,
often.
that's perfect, Charlene. Perfect, perfect, perfect,
Um,
perfect. Because that's a real question, valid question.
yeah,
And so let me break that down into three things. One, you're absolutely right. I think age does play a role
yeah,
because I could understand better because I've lived life and I had experience.
right,
And one of the things that I had going for me that younger folks don't is that I had a retirement. I had a disability pension. So even if I
sure,
lost my job, I still had some
right,
security,
right.
right? Plus, I was at an age now that too, when we reach a certain age, kind of like we get that I don't really care what other
Yep,
people think,
yep,
right? And you can't get that, because we're trying to be accepted. We're trying to impress people, and so actually, generally, you said there's a small percentage that detransition, and that's true. But you gotta remember two things here. One, there's more spectrum than just being trans. There's non-binary. There's a whole slew of different. I don't even understand all of them, but there's different levels of it, I guess you could say. So doesn't necessarily mean that they might have found out that they're not maybe totally trans. Maybe they're just non-binary, or they just don't understand yet. But ultimately, the vast majority that detransition, what they come to do, why they stop transitioning, usually is because the weight of losing family, friends, and jobs and stuff, they lose all that security. They can't handle that, so they
I'll have
stop
to look
because of
into
that.
that because that's
Because
not
the
the
vast majority
stories
that
that I've heard.
detransition turn right around years later and transition again because that's who they are.
I'll have to look into it. Like I said, I, I don't care really,
Sure.
as long
Yeah.
as you're leaving
Well,
the children out of it, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
well,
And things like
yes.
that.
And I agree to
As
that
an
to a certain
yeah,
extent.
as a
Yes.
well, again, a child is not mentally developed enough to understand what its natural body is doing. And so, especially going through puberty, it is natural to want to explore and, it is natural. that's what you do. You explore. That's how you learn. But you can't make life-altering decisions until you have life experience.
Right, but let
So,
me let me let me interject to this though for food for thought, because like I said, it's there's a lot of nuances to that with a child because a lot of people misconceive and think that a child could just go, "Hey, I'm trans" one day and then just start getting hormone access to hormones and stuff, and that's not how it goes. They have to talk to their parents, they have to talk to teachers, they have to go through therapy,
well, I
they
mean,
have to go
just
to
like
a
a person can
doctor.
get street drugs, they can do things that, that
Well,
aren't
they can. You're right. But here's the thing too, though. Okay, which is the part that I understand. So I
Hmm,
had 45 years for testosterone to do what it did to my body.
right,
So I had to go through a lot more physically. I have to go through a lot more mentally. I have to align with myself. I have to do surgeries, more surgeries, right? Whereas, and one of my big ones is my voice. That bothers me to no end because the hormones don't change my voice.
right.
And so that doesn't sound in alignment with who I am. And so if kids before they hit puberty stop stop their puberty from happening, take puberty blockers, not hormones, but puberty blockers,
I'm
they can
aware. Yeah,
stop their voice from changing, and that's a huge thing. I don't think people understand how huge that is for a kid. But now, again, I agree. Wait till they're 18, then they make a decision on their own because I don't think they're fully developed either. But I could probably also tell you that they already know who they are for the most part. It's just they don't know how to go about, or they don't know how drastic some of these changes can really be. So they could regret, like, because the whole transition process is not quick and easy. It's a
sure,
long, drawn out
sure.
process,
Yeah,
and there's a lot that you got to deal with in the in between. And those kids at that age are not mentally capable of handling that. So
right.
I agree that they shouldn't be have access to the hormone piece, but at the same time, I think they should be able to stop puberty from happening so that some of these bigger changes can't take place that they're going to struggle really mightily with to let the
Let
hormones
me
change.
ask this, at what point is it because I just, that is a part that is a hard stop for me when it comes to kids, especially having lived the life that I lived as a child, which will be in our
Uh-huh.
next podcast.
Yeah.
Um, because there was a time in history not too long ago where it is in the medical books that incest was beneficial to children.
Uh-huh.
Like, do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
and so this, and I'm not trying to compare this to
Uh-huh.
incest, but they are big things in a
Yeah.
child's life,
Yes.
big impacts. And so I
Well,
just feel
well,
like,
this is why it blows my mind that they want to take away all our health and medical care.
hey,
Because how are we going to really truly know if the doctors and scientists and all that stuff can't get the funding to continue to doing the research?
yeah, in
Because
part,
you're
that's a
right.
whole other
We just
podcast
don't
too,
know.
because
Right, exactly. We just don't know what we don't know.
that's a
So
whole other
I
podcast
could,
too, because
yeah, we could
it's
start talking about
all
trans stuff.
about the
I'll talk
dollar.
about,
So sure, they're gonna,
yeah,
want to, they're gonna
yeah,
make
yeah.
money off of it.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I guess my brain stopped there. So let's move on, I guess, then to
Yes, let's move on.
embracing your
Next
true
question.
self. And
Yes.
let's see how has embracing your true self changed your life and the world around you?
Oh,
Talked about already. Things started
yes, I have.
lining
I
in.
touched on it.
Yeah.
Everything's come in alignment. Everything I ever wanted. And I didn't get to even touch on how I found my soulmate Todd.
Yes.
Again,
This
one
is
of my
part of
biggest,
how it's changed your life. Yeah.
yes,
So
how it's
yeah.
changed my life, right. And so um, you know, it brought my soulmate to my life. And now it's transforming me wholly again. These past 2 months where I finally do the work on myself when I thought I was healed, and I was far from it. And
Healing,
that
not
I had
healed.
that look, this thing again, being transgender is not a curse to me, not a burden to me. It's beautiful. It is what brought me happiness in my life.
Yeah.
It's what brought me to my life's purpose
Yeah, I
because
know in
I
one of our
meant to share.
conversations you talked about how there are family members around you that struggled with it initially, but have been
Uh-huh.
like, we can't deny that you're a happier individual
Yes.
than before.
Yeah, like my mom, for instance, even though my son had transitioned already, so there was that she already had
Sure.
an understanding of it, right? But it really weighed heavy on her at first. she had a hard time accepting it at first, because she knew me for 45 years as
Yeah,
Rodney.
sure,
And actually, she really didn't know me because as Rodney, I didn't let nobody know me. I didn't let anybody inside. Rodney was quiet. Rodney didn't speak
sure.
who he was. And so, yeah, it was so amazing because in 6 months after my mom saw me living my life fully as Kelly, did she change and embraced me fully, knowing going that, oh my gosh,
Right.
you're shining. You
Right. You're
can't the
smiling.
radiation when you're really happy and you're true yourself,
Yeah,
that energy you give off, that vibe. Then
yeah,
that's the funny thing too is I was living down south in Alabama, right?
right,
Where in the south is conservative, it's religious,
right.
and you would think that I would have all kinds of trouble, right? People
Yeah,
would probably just say nasty things to me and do nasty things to me, and that was a real possibility. But I never had one encounter that was bad. And in fact, it was quite the opposite because I think, I was presenting as myself. I was being true to myself. And
right,
so I was so happy, so radiant that people couldn't help but just catch up on my energy.
right.
And I mean, in fact, people were just embracing of it, and it was just the funniest things. I could tell you stories, and I will share those stories with you
Sure.
about things like, I didn't when I before I had my legal name changed, right? All my official documents, like my driver's license stuff, still had Rodney on it, but yet I'm presenting fully as Kelly,
Yeah,
and I have to go get things changed, right? And with like my I had to, I get into a new apartment, I have to go get like electricity turned on and stuff, and they couldn't put my lease in my new name because I didn't have my new name yet,
right,
legally, right?
right,
But yet I'm presenting as Kelly, and
right.
I go in and I hand this lady this document at the electric company, and it's got Rodney written on my lease. And the lady looks up at me, and I'm fully dressed up as Kelly, like right now,
Sure, sure.
and she looks up at me after she looks down at the name on the lease, and she goes, "Ma'am," she says, "the guy that's on this lease has to be here for me to turn the electric on." And I was like, "Here," and she's like, "I don't think you understand. The guy that's on the lease, this Rodney guy's got to be here." "Yeah, he's here." "Well, can you bring him inside?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, she's not getting it, right? She's
Yeah.
not putting two to two together." And so when I finally tell her, I was like, "Ma'am, that's me." And she's like, you could just see the red in her face turn and go, and she's like, "I'm so sorry."
Right,
She's like, I was like, "Look, I'm in the middle of getting my legal name changed." I was like,
right,
"I live authentically this way," and she would just go on to be going. She's just apologizing,
right,
apologizing,
right.
right?
Yeah.
And she was so sweet. She was like, "You are so beautiful." She's like, and I'm just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's the interaction I had. But it's just
right.
so funny. I had so many funny interactions like that. But nothing but great interaction because again, that's
Yeah,
what I'm radiating. That's what
right.
I'm sending
That's
out to the
exactly
world,
it too.
right?
Like attracts like, yeah.
Yes. So that's how my
So
life
would
has
you,
changed.
yeah, so you would say you're more spiritually connected to your soul
Yes.
now? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm full alignment. Yes. I know why I am who I am. I know why I had to go through the things I did in life. Um, and I know the purpose now of my life. And
Right.
when you know all those things, life be just it really
It brightens.
life is just not by life is not you realize life is just not totally by chance. It was by great design. It
Yes.
was truly a masterpiece. And I
Yes.
thought right from the beginning, why should I bear this burden of being trans in this world when there's so much hate towards us, not understanding towards us?
Right. Right. So what would you say? I mean, it's not a burden, right? You said that it shouldn't be
Yes.
a burden if it's authentically you.
Right. And that's exactly it. It's going when I know in my mind, and that's why I want the people out there to understand that are not trans, is that how could when doing this, being this way, makes me happy. I feel truly me. I feel at home in my body. That um, you know, that everything just started happening right in my life. It's not forced. It just fell into alignment.
Right.
How could right there should tell you all you need to know that I'm being real, that I'm being me, that I'm being
Right.
true to myself. And
Right.
so it's not a facade. It's not a mask. The mask was the other way around. When I
Sure.
was Rodney, that was fake.
Sure. Sure. So what surprised you most about becoming the real you?
Um, just how hard it was, to be honest. That I had to understand that I wanted to go from I wanted to go from 0 to 60, in a matter of
Right,
minutes,
right,
and that it's a long, long, hard, drawn out process.
right.
And the beauty of it again is the process is taking the time to capture it all. Like I wrote down, like my first 6 months, I would journal every day, all of the new experiences I felt, all of the things, changes that happened, all the things I had to face, um, and that was the you know happy pieces, which that's the other reason why, like right now, like some of the big key moments in my transition, that I was, when I had it happen and I was happy and I really wanted to share it with somebody, the joy I felt,
Yeah.
and I didn't have nobody really to share it with.
Oh,
But now that I have Todd, I get to share all of my great
gotcha.
moments. So luckily,
Gotcha.
at least Todd came in my life before I finished my transition, so that I can still enjoy some really big key moments in my transition,
Yeah.
with somebody that really truly loves me.
Nice. That's always unconditional love is an important, um, necessary for our health and wellness as a whole, as a human being, unconditional
Yes.
love. And interestingly enough, I really only experienced that with my dogs.
Right. So it's kind of like the
It's
same
the
lesson
first
in
time.
life, right? Like we think we'll be happy when we reach a certain point in life, when the truth is all the joy and happiness happens in the in between. There's not a point,
No,
right?
right. It's the journey, not the
Right. So
destination.
when you
Right.
can be
So,
in the present now and you can have gratitude, you can be happy for I have Todd in my life,
right.
I get to be my true authentic self.
Right.
I have a beautiful place to live in.
Right.
I get to experience life as me now.
Yeah.
And I get to help all these beautiful people out there because I got to go through all the fires and trials and tribulations.
Right.
That's the joy. That's the
Yeah.
happiness. It's
Yep.
now, not 10 years from now.
No, well, hopefully then too, but it is
Yeah,
about
hopefully
being
then
in the
too.
now. It is
But
about being in the now
yes,
for sure, because that's all
exactly.
you have. Yesterday is gone. You can't do anything about it, and tomorrow's not here yet. And all you can do is what you can do to prepare for tomorrow. But when
Right,
you do what you do to prepare for tomorrow, at some point you have to set it down because you have to ask yourself, this is what people do when they're not in the now and not enjoying the now, is they're worried
yep,
about tomorrow, worried about tomorrow. So you need to ask
right,
yourself, what can I do now to prepare for tomorrow? Take that step and then be in the now. And if there isn't anything that you can do right now to prepare for tomorrow, okay, fine, I've done all I could. Let me be in the now. So that's all that you have. So that's always an important part for me too, is just to be in the now. So what advice would you give to someone questioning their identity?
so the first advice I would give, and of course I got a whole bag full of things I
Yeah.
would say, but ultimately, two things I would say, give with somebody that is trans first, somebody that's older, someone that's been through it for a while, and pick their brains. But ultimately, the big key, like what we were just talking about again, is you've got to understand when we first start to transition, we become so happy, we become so in love with ourselves, and we just want more of it. We want more, and we want it now. We want all the changes to happen now. We don't want we're tired of looking like we did before. This is our true selves, and we want it all now. And as I heard before, the term that transitioning is not a sprint; it's a marathon.
Right, right, right.
Yes.
So,
So just brace yourself, right? That
yeah,
that take your time. Don't rush it because you can mess things up really bad along the way. So enjoy the moments. Just
yeah.
embrace the time it
I
takes.
love that. I love that because it's definitely important to not rush through anything,
Mhm.
specifically
Mhm.
large, impactful,
Yes.
life-changing things,
Huge life changing.
especially when you're making a choice. Everything is hard, I always say, but when you choose your hard, there's
Yep.
a different respect for it. There's a different fear that comes with it that you're able to push past and push through to keep going, and a different reward. You get reward versus regret kind of thing when you choose your hard.
Yeah.
Um, so I definitely love that and take your time and embrace. the journey and not just the destination. And I think that's huge for everybody is embracing the journey.
Yes.
Stop looking for something in the future because you're wishing away what the only thing it is that you have. And again, that's the now.
Yeah, because to be honest with you, when I think about it, I told you I'm coming up on 4 years,
Yeah,
my
right.
transition. And at times I'm like, I can't wait to get to that point because I want to see kind of like
Sure,
what the end results are. But at the same time, there's so much joys that happen throughout my transition that
sure,
it's also going to be kind of sad to go. There's not a whole lot more to the like physical changes and things. There's still a
sure,
lot more that I can experience in life as Kelly, and I'm
sure.
going to.
Right,
But the big changes, the physical changes, the mental changes, they're going to stop. They're and so there's going to be like a loss there in a sense of
sure.
because it's fascinating. It really is.
Sure, sure. Okay, so what would you say to people, to someone who doesn't understand you or understand transgender people?
And we actually I basically just hit the whole thing with all this. To be
Yeah,
honest,
right,
again,
right, right,
it's
right. I was
going
thinking that.
that we're not some monster waiting around the corner. We're
Yeah.
not we were not there's always that 1%, right, or 10% of any population
Well,
that are
anybody,
bad actors, right?
definitely what you're saying is it doesn't matter who you are, what politician, what doctor, what this, what that. It does not matter. There is a good and an evil, and then
Yes,
there's in between. So
but
yeah,
that we're not going into women's spaces to rape them. We're not trying to go out there to change children to transition.
right.
All these monsters, all
And
these
I think
false
that
narratives.
you touched on like you're not going into women's restrooms to rape them. So to speak again, not that I've been attacked by a transgender person, but the other
Uh-huh.
aspects of that statement I have experienced on some level. So I don't think, and I can only speak for myself, but I do observe people and I watch people, and obviously that's the same thing, but I don't know. And again, there's always going to be those ones, but I don't know. I don't think that people think that transgender people are doing this to go into bathrooms to rape people. I think what the fear is that it can be used by those perverse people
Yes.
to get access.
Right. Which is
And
but
that's
again, there's nothing
terrifying.
that's going
Yeah.
to stop them even before we came about. Like
Well, they're
we've been
not going to go
around,
into a
right?
woman's bathroom looking fully like a man.
Right. And like
So
some
that's
dudes
going to
not
stop
most
them.
likely gonna
Yeah.
gonna get themselves all dressed up to present fully as a woman, put makeup on, learn women's clothes,
Well,
just
but
to
there
go
are
in.
people who do these things. You cannot say that people are not going to do something when then there are already all full spectrums. I have said for a very long time in my life that if you can think it, it's out there somewhere.
Sure. Yeah,
So you,
absolutely. Again, there's that 1% that there's no way you're gonna stop it, right? But ultimately, really, there's not 99.9% of the people are not going to go through that for that purpose because there's no barrier there. There's a door that anybody could walk into the women's restroom and just
I
do what
think
they're going to do.
you're right, but I think it's important to not, what is the word, to not just kind of throw
Dismiss
it
it?
by the wayside like
Yeah,
that
sure. No,
because
I
it's
get
not,
it.
there
I
is,
do.
yes,
I can
I feel the
understand.
same way in my house with my husband not here.
Yes,
It,
absolutely. And I can also understand, like, because, like, again, while we're going through stages, I still looked male. A lot of pieces of me still looked male.
sure.
Now, like, that's another part of my transition that I learned, which was, I used to constantly think everybody's eyes were on me,
Right, right. I
no matter
understand
where I
that.
was at when I first started. And I'm thinking to
Yeah,
myself, this is so freaking crazy
yeah.
because I'm so worried that somebody's gonna figure out I'm trans and then try to do something to me,
Right,
right?
right.
When the fact of the matter is, people are so consumed in their own lives,
Yeah, right.
nobody
100%.
notices.
Right,
Right? The first time
right.
I went to the doctor's office and I sat down and this and that and I waited I don't know, about 30 minutes to see my
Sure.
endocrinologist. And that office was packed, full of people. And
Right.
I just felt like all eyes were on
Yeah,
me.
I understand that.
There wasn't a
I
single one
feel that
around.
way all the
You
time.
know
I'm
what
like,
they were doing? Yeah, yeah. They were all on their phones. They could
yep,
care
you're
less
right.
what I was doing, right? And
Right.
I just thought, how
Yeah,
silly of me, right?
right.
But no, I totally get it though. But again, because some of us that are transitioning, we don't look fully like a woman yet. So we still might look threatening, right? So why is this male looking thing coming in? But guess what? There's there's lesbians that look more male than I do, right? Even as I was transitioning, they still have to go into the female's restroom,
Right.
right? It's like, so there's, I mean, there's so many pieces and parts to it, but ultimately, if we could all come to the table and just go, hey, look, the reality situation really is really this: that 1% who's a bad actor is going to figure a way out one way or the other.
Right.
If
I
their
definitely don't
plans,
think that one bad apple spoils the bunch kind of thing.
right,
You know what I mean?
but
I think that you shouldn't blanket anyone in any statement together.
right,
You have all levels of that.
but
So,
that's how people. But fear is such a strong emotion, and it's such
it
a
is.
strong motivator, right? Like, so when people don't understand something that they just don't understand, fear of the unknown makes them do crazy things. And so what I keep trying to tell is, and really this is the whole aspect of it, is we're still human. I'm still the same as you.
Yeah.
The only difference is I was handed a different life, whatever you want to call it, I guess, a life path to take, right? But I
Well,
still
that's
bleed. I
everybody.
still
Yeah.
breathe. I'm still someone's mother, someone's father. I'm still someone's, kid. I'm still
Right.
a grandparent. I'm
We're
still,
human. Yeah, we're
and I still want the same things. I want to live. I want to be able to work and have a good life and just be me.
right.
And so we take the humanness out of it and go, well, let's just strip all your rights because we can't trust that 1% off chance that someone's going to step on a building and shoot somebody, or somebody's going to walk in a woman's restroom and rape a woman and then claim that they were trans. You know?
Right. I don't, I don't know what rights are being stripped. I don't know. Again, I'm ignorant to that because
Yeah.
ultimately for me, it's a you do you. There, as long as you're not hurting others. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
As long as
exactly.
you're not hurting others. And it doesn't matter whether you're white, black, Asian, purple, green, woman, male. There are people that hurt people. And
Yeah.
ultimately for me, that comes down to a mental health and a destruction of the family unit,
Right, which is kind of ironic because again, they're stripping away all of our healthcare rights, which is going, okay, so, yeah, look, when you're on hormones, your mind physiology and your psychology is changing. So, what the propensity could, lend somebody that's already kind of mentally unstable because they're so scared of everything. Taking hormones could do something irrational, right? So why are you going to strip that healthcare away to make that chance
I
an
mean,
even higher
healthcare
chance?
in and of itself in our country, that's a whole other podcast too.
Hmm. Yeah,
Healthcare in
absolutely.
and of itself, whether it has to do with trans healthcare or any healthcare, is
Yeah,
very corrupt. And again, it is not healthcare. It is a business for them to make money. They do not treat
right.
you to be healthy,
Yes.
and at any level. I mean, and that's
But
been proven time and time and again. Ask any doctor. Ask any doctor and they will tell you they do not get educated on nutrition at all in their medical school. Nutrition,
yeah,
the very thing that our human vehicles need to work at proper levels.
yep.
So,
But so
I
they all to the
definitely,
point. I'm sorry.
no, yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
Right.
Healthcare in general is not good in our country,
But
period.
the
So,
point I want to drive across again is the human part aspect of it, which
yeah,
is I'm not some monster, lurking
right,
around the corner.
right,
Most of my trans sisters are not monsters
right,
lurking around the corner.
right,
We're human. We're
right,
human. We still bleed. We still breathe. We still
right.
need food. We
You
still
just
want to
want to
live a life.
live
We
life
just
and
want to
be
live like
happy.
everybody else,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And if you don't like it and you don't agree with it, you don't believe it, just so what? Just go on your merry way and let us
Right,
be
right,
ourselves. So
right,
that's the part I think people keep constantly forgetting is that ultimately we're all just human.
right, right. We're beings, we're a life. I think that our disregard for life in general has brought us to where, a life has potential as long as it's there. It's up to that person to seek out their potential,
Yeah,
and work toward that. So that's exactly it. That's how I live my life. We're human. When people like people don't ask me, but I think about these things and I want, if someone was to ask me, are you white? Are you a female? Are you this? Are you American? I am human on planet
right.
Earth.
Exactly. Throw away all the labels,
Yeah,
all the conditioning, and let's strip ourselves down to the bare
yeah,
bones. And
right.
ultimately, we're no different.
Yeah, we're human on planet Earth. And I think that probably kind of goes into this next question
Okay.
is what do you hope listeners walk away with after hearing your story?
I'm human.
Yeah, right, right, right. So, um, and then I guess that kind of wraps up our story.
Yeah,
Any final words, and then we'll go into what everyone can expect with our next podcast.
yeah.
And we'll talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so again, just I'm so honored to actually to be able to share my story because again, like I said, just 2 months ago, the same Kelly that was here wouldn't have been able to do this.
I couldn't even get her to do a reel. Like, come on now.
Right? Didn't even get me to do a reel. Showing my face because again, I have insecurity still about things like my voice and things like that. But but it's like almost like the same time too, going now I'm realizing and I'm learning that it's selfish to hide who I am when there's others that need to hear my voice,
Sure.
see that it's okay to be who you are, and that's kind of where the Soul Rise Collective came born. And because again, I feel like because I was put through the fire, because I've walked the fire, because I went through all the hard stuff. I did it. I figured it out.
Right.
You and I walked those things. And we understand that it doesn't have to take a lifetime to get where we're at. So, we experience the joy and happiness.
Right.
Um, and we know that so many others can do it too, but everybody's so stuck in all the conditioning and all the mind controlled,
Right.
and that we can help with that, and we want to help with that, and we could really change the world around, one person at a time or 100 people at a time, whichever. All they gotta do is be ready
Right.
and be willing to finally stop kidding themselves,
Take the action.
and
Be
take the
real with
action.
themselves.
Yes,
Yeah.
take the
Ask
action.
yourself. Question everything. Question everything.
Right.
I do that now. Curiosity is what I like to say.
Yes.
Are you
Question everything.
curious? If
Yep.
you're curious when you're questioning everything, it takes a little bit of the weight off of questioning everything, and you're just curious about what you can learn or experience. And it really transforms that. But you're right. You definitely have to be willing to do the work and ask the hard questions and get the hard answers.
But
So,
you don't have to do like we did, where we're figuring it out all on our own. Like I didn't go seek a life coach. I didn't go talk to somebody.
right, yeah,
I drew myself inwards.
yes,
I mean, I
yes,
did have some inspirations. I obviously, like I said, like listening to
just,
you and watching
trust,
you, but ultimately, everything came from inside me. And I
yep,
know you and I both know now that we all have a purpose in life, and we all have the power within us. And all we have to do is find our natural gifts,
yes,
and that's basically what we're here for. We're
yep.
to guide you, so that you don't take 6 years like we have to
Guide you
get to
within, yeah,
and look, we understand that we're not finished either. So
right.
we're not perfect, but
Again, the journey, not the destination. And I love
exactly,
that. I love what
exactly.
you said that you went within because to me that we are divine and the divinity I feel like and again this can be another podcast conversation with spirituality and religion.
Yeah,
Jesus, I'll use the name because he said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. You will do greater things than him. And I think that the separation of that, we had to go out there to get access to the divine is one
right.
of the things that has
Yes,
created the discord in our society and our people instead of go because that also allows you to do whatever you want and get away with it because you'll be forgiven as
right.
long as you accept Jesus as your savior then you're forgiven and I'm like yeah that's a little treacherous there but when you go within and you're actually open and awake and accepting and um there's something else I'm looking for. It's not coming, but really open to going within and looking within
Yeah,
and honest with yourself, I guess,
right, right.
to what comes
Yeah,
then you don't need religion or
right. Exactly.
spirituality is different than religion. I think it's more spiritual to go within and find the divinity within because then you understand that being a good person, no matter how you present yourself, being a good person to other people comes from finding the divinity within and understanding that we are all one. And so when you're hurting them, you're hurting yourself too. You just don't. So I love that that was where you found because that's what I did. I was for the I didn't there was not any any class or coach
Right.
or anything. I read books, I wrote, I asked myself questions, I sat with those questions, I meditated on those questions. I still do that, you know. So I love that yeah, that's what,
Well, that's the power of it all, right? Which is
yeah,
the realization that it was always all within inside
all
you. You
within,
just had to
right.
turn inward.
Yeah,
And once I started doing that, and that's what actually that the 9 videos I just posted
yeah,
yesterday on
right.
YouTube, um, speak to the last 2 months about all the magic that's happened since
Yeah,
I really tuned inwards and I rewired my brain. I understood that my brain's controlling things, that I had to heal myself from old traumas and stuff, and that I had all the tools I needed. I get these weird, I get these, I just get answers come to me.
yeah,
Or I open up Facebook and I get these messages that come to me. Or, I these people come
right.
in my orbit and tell me I hear things that come to me right when I need to hear them and when I'm ready to hear them. And I
Right.
so I shared all that magic. So if you don't
Yeah.
believe me, go watch those 9 videos.
Yeah.
It's just so it's crazy. So
Yeah.
you and I figured this out on our own. So now we're going to share with everybody. That's really our purpose. Share
Yes.
it with everybody. We know it's hard, and we did it alone. And because it's hard, because it's emotional, and because there's a lot of things you won't understand, we can guide you through that. That's our mission here at Soul Rise. We'll walk you through it. And that's it. Soul Rise. We're going to help you rise your soul, become your best self. Because when we all become our best self, the world becomes a better place to live in.
Yes. We tilt the world a little more to the right.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So,
So I think that wraps it up
yep.
for your story. Our
Yes.
next podcast. Right now we're doing bi-weekly. We are toying with going weekly. It's really just a matter of our personal lives and the timing to do that. I didn't think that this conversation was going to go as long as it did, actually. Not that I'm complaining by any stretch of the word, but I didn't, and that's kind of how it goes though when you're sharing your story. So because of
Yes.
that, but it'll always be posted on Mondays. On the YouTube channel. And so our next podcast will be in 2 weeks. So here I'm stuck here. Let me just,
Okay, well, so just that's perfect ending right there because
yeah,
so the next one's gonna be your story, Charlene, and then in betweens, I'm gonna post stuff on TikTok and I'll post more videos probably on YouTube channel.
yeah,
Just talking about what comes to me, and we're once we get done with your story, we're gonna start working on the mind stuff, changing, shifting your mindset and things, and so just come and join us and
what tools and things that
ask
you've
your
taken
questions.
with you. Yeah, for sure.
Post your questions, send us private messages if you want, or post it on here, whatever you feel comfortable with. So, but interact with us. Tell us how we're doing.
Yep, definitely
What you
comment
want to
your
see.
questions, like, subscribe, and share all those good things. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. Yeah, get us out there. If it doesn't resonate with you right now, then but you know somebody that could use it, give it to them.
right, that's it. Yeah, that's it. All
So,
right. Well, I guess we will see you all at the next one. Always sending our love and best wishes.
yay.